One Piece. So I watched the latest 2 episodes, me and my guy Max Powers. The previous 2 latest episode, I think it was 1049 was last week's episode and 1050 was this week's episode, and just Wano in general. I think we could probably admit that regardless story, whatever you want to call it, the Wano arc of One Piece anime adaptation is the best anime adaptation or the best adapted arc for the One Piece anime since the time skip.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
I think there's bar none. Like, they have legitimately put every possible effort into making sure that Wano's anime looks beautiful, from the art, from, you know, and I'm talking about even early Wano, going into when we get introduced to Odin's backstory and stuff like that, which shout outs to Odin, one of my favorite characters in all of One Piece, dog. He did his thing, bro. I love Odin. I love Odin. But I think there's no debate there, right? Like, am I off on that? Am I bugging saying that the Wano arc, in terms of just as an adaptation, art, animation, aesthetics, and some of the story, honestly, it feels like it's the best thing post time skip.
Wow, that is delicious. Finally, some good fucking food.
Obviously, pre-time skip, a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia and favoritism. I do too with a lot of those arcs, but I would even toss it that it's probably better than a lot of the arcs from even pre-time skip. I'm gonna just keep it real. The adaptation itself, as you know, an anime and whatnot. Am I wrong on there? Let me see what you guys are saying on that. Wano, hands down. Boom. Okay. Facts, Nev. Let's go. Want hands down or hands up? Hands up. Shorty when you party. No, let me stop. I'm bugging. The fact that they're able to even get some of this stuff done. Like, we're about like a year removed between the anime and manga on an ongoing thing that is every week they drop an episode, and they drop very minimal filler. You don't get that without paying some type of price. You know what I'm saying? There's some type of price. Then there's still some of the problems that has plagued One Piece for a very long time in terms of stretching out scenes, character reactions, looking at, you know, the waves splashing off the rocks. There's still like a lot of those problems with the One Piece anime, no question. But in terms of just everything else, I feel like it just nails it. If I feel like you could put on the One Piece anime damn near at any point in Wano and just watch and just marathon and feel like you're having one of the best times. Like, I truly feel like that. And then you get some of these moments, like I think again it was 1049 when Luffy shows up with Momonosuke and that art and animation. Granted, they did troll us to a certain degree, a little wince, just a smidge, mate, with like, yo, that this is coming, got the previews, and then that's like the last couple minutes of the episode. So it was like, all right, Yasukuga at the last second, but at least y'all deliver some, you know, little something for us. But that episode was just, man, the One Piece anime, again, is so dope to be able to sit back and watch and enjoy it. You know, back in the day, I ruined the One Piece anime for myself back in the day, and I'm gonna tell you how. Constantly making it like chained to doing the reviews. That was one of the worst. I wish I'd never had such a, like, I really made it that, yo, if I don't do the One Piece anime review on Saturday right after the episode came out, I failed. And that used to really bother me, and it made me not enjoy the One Piece anime as much. And then you add into when we started getting to some of the Dressrosa Coliseum filler and stuff like that. That's when it kind of completely was like, I'm already feeling miserable, that I feel like I'm forced to every Saturday night. I can't do nothing else. I gotta watch that One Piece episode. Like, it was bad, bro. I'm talking about, like, I got plans to go out on a date, and I'm like, I gotta talk about One Piece and then we go. Like, and I know that probably sounds like really exciting to some people, like, yo, he really was a real one, bro. He loves the One Piece or whatever. But at the same time, that's a price you gotta pay. You paying, you know, your social life, you paying with your time, you paying with your mind of, yo, bro, nothing else can happen until I talk about that One Piece. And I used to do separate videos for the One Piece episode previews. So it was a double doozy. And it was like, yo, I don't care if I'm talking on the phone. I don't care if I'm hungry. One Piece. And that is not, and I repeat, not, if you're a content creator, don't do that to yourself, because you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to end up hating what you love. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's many points where I felt like I started hating anime and manga as a whole because I made it so much of a priority above all else. And once I started to little by little let a lot of that go, I felt so much more enjoyment when I watch stuff. Like, now when I put on anime, I'm not feeling as like it's daunting thing. Like, well, let me make sure I got to put on my thinking cap now. It get wild out here, and I know probably a lot of you can't really see that perspective because maybe you're not a content creator, so you don't understand where I'm coming from with that. But trust and believe it be a little wild. But thankfully, to be able to put on the One Piece anime and watch the latest couple episodes and see some of those hype moments again, Momonosuke trying to overcome his fears, because we're at that point right now where he's at the big dragon form, but he's still scared. So it's kind of like, being thrusted into positions and being placed in position to do certain things, but you still don't feel like you're ready internally. You may have the look, you know what I'm saying? That's like if I showed up, right? I'm a boxer, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting in the ring, and I look diesel, I look like I'm in shape, I'm ready to go, but in my mind, I am scared to death and crying nonstop. That's essentially where it's at with Momonosuke right now, because he is forced. He has no choice pretty much. You got to do this. You got to step up. The time is now. The time is now. Hey, no. So, you get thrusted in these positions, especially again that he's a kid in the mind. Regardless of what happens for him, he's still technically a child. So he's dealing with all of these wild scenarios, and it's fascinating to see. Like, Oda weaves these things together so well, where it's like you have that plot, that subplot. Then of course you got Luffy's whole thing where he got to throw hands with Kaido regardless. And yeah, I don't know. I just love where we're at right now with it, and I know. And I kind of wonder now that I think about it, how far off we are from Gear 5th. I ain't gonna lie, can't wait for Gear 5th. Which I have no doubt in my mind, Toei is gonna get it right. If Toei botches Gear 5th, I would be beyond shocked. There's like a 0.1% chance that Toei is going to botch Gear 5th. Every time they animate a new gear, they always make sure that they get the top of the line directors and stuff like that. They don't play games. Like, look at Gear 4th. You can say whatever you want about if you don't like it or you like it, but in terms of them adapting it and giving it a great piece of animation, that looked phenomenal. So I'm expecting even more so with Gear 5th, because Gear 5th is arguably my favorite of all the transformations. Of all of Luffy's gears, Gear 5th is my fave. Then probably Gear 2nd, then maybe Snake Man, and then Gear 2nd, somewhere around that ballpark. Now, again, 1049, especially that ending, oh my god, it was freaking hype. It was hype, and just in general, everything going on with the One Piece anime is always nice too when I take a bit of a break and come back to it, and I'm like, oh snap, this is freaking awesome. 1050, that's where I start seeing a lot of the problems that a lot of people have had with One Piece's anime. That's where, and myself, you know what I'm saying? That's where you start seeing things. Did I enjoy it? Absolutely. I still enjoyed it. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you, because like I'm starting to get to a point where as long as you tailor your expectations, you ain't going to be coming in there jarred and whatnot. And because I tailor my expectations to, well, okay, if One Piece just had a god tier episode beforehand in terms of aesthetics, probably the next one ain't going to be that great. It's probably not going to be all that, you know what I'm saying? And it had its issues. A lot of the times they were masquerading the like dragons, Kaido's form and Momonosuke's form with like clouds and stuff like that. And it would be like real close-ups, because it is a pain to animate those big pieces. At certain points you can see that they did utilize 3D CG and stuff like that, but it really, I don't know, I was rocking with it. It wasn't like detrimental to the experience by any means. It's a noticeable drop off from 1049, where it's like, holy, the gods is coming through, and the next one is like, the gods is just standing there. Next time on One Piece, you know what I'm saying? So with the latest episode, it kind of was little slow progressions. It was again progressing as well, with Momonosuke having to deal with getting thrusted into this position where it's almost like he has the physical tools, but it's like, how do you utilize it? Like, think of, I don't know, when Captain Ginyu was jumping in Goku's body, how he didn't know how to maneuver or whatnot. Obviously it's different in terms of this is a scared kid or whatever, and that's Captain Ginyu. But the point being is that he has this power, but he also hasn't had time to train, so he's learning on the fly. And I think that's impressive, if anything. Like, he's learning how to maneuver as Kaido in a way, in the middle of a very serious, life or death battle, the ultimate battle, the climax and stuff like that. So you got to give Momo props. People ain't really looking at that as well. Like, this is a small kid. End of the day, whatever you want to say, his mind is still childlike, very childlike. So he's doing all of this learning on the fly, scared to death. You can't blame him. He's traumatized. We get the flashbacks on and off again of what Kaido did to him, strangling him practically after the defeat of Odin and stuff like that. you got to give Momo some props. I mean, at the end of the day, I know we was all hating because he got to feel, you know what I'm saying, Nami a little bit or whatever. But realistically, yeah, I don't know. I think we be a little bit hard on Momonosuke. I would say the transformation Blackbeard is a very, very interesting concept. I'm not even gonna lie. It looks like there's a potential for, which I mean, this is becoming kind of almost a Norman jump right now, so I wouldn't be surprised. But Oda's been ahead of the curve for many of years. If Blackbeard somehow, some way has dual consciousness, like there's potentially, because you know the whole thing of him missing the tooth, and a lot of people are like, oh no, that was just an error on Oda's part or whatever. There's a lot of things that make you think like, okay, too, if there's multiple consciousness inside of Blackbeard, could that be the key to how he's able to wield the multiple devil fruits and stuff like that? If there's basically like two beings inside of him. Also, that whole conflict of, it looks like there was some really, I don't want to say righteous or noble, but there was some type of good person there when we see him and he's sitting down and he tells us, you know, the whole spiel about dreams and whatnot. And then he does what he did to Ace. So if there's a dual consciousness and one of them is like a dope dude and one of them is like a not so good person, that could also explain a lot about Blackbeard. But you still confused as hell about Blackbeard? Me too. I mean, I'm you know, throwing out theories. I don't know per se about this whole dual consciousness, but just look at the All for One stuff with Shigaraki. This could be that, yo, maybe they caught on a long time ago, like, we know what Oda's doing with Blackbeard, we're gonna hop on that first. Got Jujutsu Kaisen doing stuff like that. Yeah, man, One Piece is just great. There's so many options to have, and we're 20 plus years into it, and that's because Oda constantly sets the groundwork for him to build up on stuff moving forward.
I have a dream, alone in my room as I sit with the tea. Couldn't possibly think what I often see, and you don't even know how I often blink. Lights be flashing and looking at me, such a odd, unique, yet I'm so unique, and you're looking at me. If the walls could talk, they would probably read me, and I'd probably say, bitch, get the fuck off me.